Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another 3D Hangouts. My name is Noah Ruiz. I'm a designer here at Adafruit, and joining me every week is my brother Pedro.
Good morning, everybody. Pedro Creative Tech here at Adafruit, and every week we're here to share 3D printed projects featuring electronics from Adafruit.
Skulls. This is a show we combine 3D printing and skulls to make inspirational projects for you folks.
It's going to be skulls for the next, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's skull season.
And immediately after, it'll be Christmas.
Immediately after.
I said it.
Hello, everybody in the Discord chat room. Thank you for joining us this morning. We have some fun, creative things to share with folks. We hope everyone's doing all right. We'll give some shout-outs to everybody, and then we'll do some morning housekeeping.
Good morning to everybody hanging out in all of the chat rooms. We're hanging out in the Discord at discord.gg/Adafruit, on the YouTubes, on Facebook. No, not on Facebook. It does not want to.
Yeah, I updated the stream key, but it still didn't want to work. So.
On Twitch. That's fine. Nobody cares about Facebook.
No, it's just not a thing that's working right now. Every week.
Consistent. On Instagram and on Periscope. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night to everybody hanging out all over the world. Let's go ahead and start off with some housekeeping. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's give out some shout-outs first.
I was waiting for
everybody hanging out. Say hello. We are chilling out with everybody in the chat rooms. Andy Calloway, Liz, Blitz City DIY,
morning,
Paul
Liz.
Cutler,
Good morning, Paul.
Yanni,
Ski,
Vince,
Andy,
John,
JP,
Seeker,
Skur,
Rosin, Mike P,
Duester,
Connor, Madable,
I feel like shouting out patrons.
Derek.
You're all of our patrons.
Good morning to y'all. All right, let's go ahead and get it started.
All right, let's head up. Let's go to adafruit.com/free. We'll start off by maybe paying some bills. We got a new freebie going in, so we'll see that. So for orders that are $99 or more, you're gonna get a free half-size Proto. For orders that are $149 or more, you'll get the half-size Proto plus an Adafruit KB2040. That's that keyboard driver. And for orders that are $200 or more, you'll get the KB2040, the Proto half-size breadboard, and free ground shipping for UPS in the continental US only. And then the last tier, for $299 or more, you get the free UPS ground shipping, the KB2040, the half-size Proto, and a Circuit Playground Blue Fruit. It is hot in here. I can turn the air on.
Yes, it is.
I
was going to.
The heat, right?
I forgot.
Like as soon as we go live, like just 5 degrees get lower in here, higher in here, because that's the way it is. And we have warmed up coffee. So those are the freebies. Go to adafruit.com/free to see all those details. And one last note I'll say about it: it gets on these parts. These freebies get automatically added to your cart, so no need to do any coupon codes because they are automatic.
You can't even delete them.
You're
out
not
of your
even
cart.
allowed to. Yeah, it's not an option to not get them. Sorry. All right, moving on. Next, we'll look at jobs.adafruit.com real quick. If you are in the market for a gig, or if you're looking to hire some maker folks, check out the jobs board at jobs.adafruit.com. It's free to do so, and all of the posts are kind of vetted by Lamar and Philip Tarone, Mr. and Mrs. Lady Ada. So you can check out the jobs board at jobs.adafruit.com. Newsletters. We have a newsletter that happens once a week, and that is focused on Adafruit products. So if you want to subscribe to that, you can go to adafruit.com/newsletter. Adafruit Daily is where you can get your daily dose of emails. If you'd like stories and tips, that sort of thing, you can subscribe to the many different categories. And we want to celebrate a milestone of the Python on Microcontrollers newsletter. It is our 200th issue. So shout out to Amberella and the CircuitPython crew for coming up with awesome content and everybody sharing their stories. It's a great opportunity for folks in the community to share their stories and get it in front of thousands of folks. Giving a big shout out to Paul Cutler for hosting the CircuitPython Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe to it on any of your podcasting services. You just search for the CircuitPython podcast. All right, and I think I'm circling back over to CircuitPython meetings that happen every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can sit in and listen live, or you can check out the archive that gets posted shortly after. But it normally happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's the CircuitPython meeting, kind of community Do we have a proper name? Community Hangout, maybe we can call it. CircuitPython Weekly, I think we call it. And it happens in the Discord chat room, which segues me back over to the Discord chat.
Rolves is asking, is there a hum on the screen? It's about 1700
Yes.
hertz.
Yes, there is a hum.
It's this project.
Fan. Hey, look, it's me with a mustache.
Yes, you're hearing a Noctua fan
Yeah,
spinning.
I can shut it down if you'd like, but
It might melt the case now.
no, no, it's not that hot. Yeah, it's sucking in air. Yeah, this is this week's. I'm at a kind of this week's project is a Raspberry Pi media server. This is a cool way to make a media server so you can stream content and play your content on a Raspberry Pi 4. So we have this PC case design, this PC inspired PC tower case. And, oh man, I'm just not good. The main thing about this project is that we're using a solid state drive, an external solid state drive. So we have a SATA to USB 3 cable, and you can get up to 50 megabits of read and write speeds on the Pi, so you get some faster performances this way. So this was a project idea from Lamar. She thought it'd be a really good idea to make our own media server with a Pi and using an SSD, so a solid state drive. This is one from Samsung. It's got 1 terabyte, which is a lot bigger than the SD cards that you're normally using when you're doing a Raspberry Pi project. So we have a lot of features in this PC case. So again, the Raspberry Pi is mounted to this 3D printed case, and it has these 2 side panels. The side panel has some things that you can mount to it. So here we have a Noctua fan to keep it nice and cool, and on the other end we have the bracket for a standard 2.5 inch solid state drive. You have ports on the bottom here for all of your HDMI and USB and audio things. And then on the front here, you can see we have this lovely 1.9 inch TFT, and you can do all sorts of things like display useful information or not useful information. You can display a MP4 video or some GIF images. But for now, we have some CircuitPython code that's displaying the IP address, the CPU temperature, and some memory and disk usage here. So that gets mounted to the case with these hardware screws. You have access to your USB ports and your gigabit Ethernet. And on the back side, we have a micro SD card extender so that we can actually add micro SD. You can notice that I don't have an SD card there. This is the thing, because it's using the SSD. So everything is running off the SSD, which is awesome. It's nice and fast and speedy, and lots of storage. Another feature we have this fancy 16 millimeter arcade button that's metal and has a built-in LED with a built-in resistor, and that LED is tied to the TX pin, so it'll give you status indication, so you know if your thing is on or not. And we have some scripts to do a safe shutdown. So if we want to shut this down, we can do that. On the top here, we have these 2 buttons that are tied to 2 different GPIO pins, and you can use these to cycle through different modes. We have a script that's available to cycle through different GIF images. So what's the last feature? The 3D printed handle, because why not? You have this 3D printed handle, so you can carry this thing around, and it's a print in place hinge, and it just gets secured to the top side here under the buttons. Cool. So that's the project in a nutshell. We'll go through the Learn Guide and talk a little bit about software stuff. Look, there's me with my mustache and a skateboard, talking to the skateboard. This is a little display that we have. It has a built-in speaker, and this is a little wireless keyboard that we like. It has a built-in trackpad, and this monitor is just running over HDMI. We have one of the official Raspberry Pi HDMI cables because they use I think it's a micro or a mini HDMI, something like that. I think it's micro.
Guardian Sword from Zelda Breath of Fresh Air.
Okay, that's my joke. So yeah, this is a nice display if you want to do something small like that. But really, we're talking about this fancy PC case for your Raspberry Pi 4. So again, we're using the Raspberry Pi 4 because it's got USB 3, and I think this is a 2 gigabyte model, but we have 4 gigabyte and 8 gigabyte model versions. At some point, we're going to stock this SATA to USB 3 cable. Right now, we don't, but we will soon, someday. We have all the other parts though to make this build. There's a lot of little accessories and things that make this project modular and a little bit more robust. So we'll walk through all that stuff. But for now, here's Pedro with a Guardian Sword. Woo. So for software-wise, let's talk about the streaming software that we're using. This is just Chromium in kiosk mode, meaning that you can kind of go full screen so you don't see the URL and stuff like that. You can always exit though using Alt F4 keyboard shortcut to exit out of the Chromium. So Plex is a live streaming kind of platform that you can install on Linux, Mac, PC, etc., etc. So you just install this and it installs on top of your Chromium browser, and it's got a pretty sweet interface. So it has its own kind of movies that you can stream, and it also has live TV. Let's check out some live TV. Hopefully it doesn't kill our bandwidth, but this is the Design Network. It's kind of a fun, just a bunch of beauty shots of like homes and furniture and stuff. It's basically HGTV. But like
they even have the knockoff dude.
I know they have
Isn't that from this
right,
this old home? No, the redhead dude. It's like from This Old Home.
Oh. Yeah.
Which they have their own like series or something now. They're doing
I don't know.
acting.
It's a fun channel, and there's lots of other streaming. There's add-ons for Plex. Is it Plex TV? I think it's Plex. How do I? I'm like looking at the computer and not the monitor. So yeah, live TV. There's movies. It actually can pull from Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, and a bunch of other places. There's a lot of add-ons you can do. There's music on Tidal, and what we did is we wanted to put some content on the disc itself. So we have all of our Adafruit, not all of them, but a good amount of Adafruit videos here locally added from the SSD, so you can just import those. How about some cookies? You want to see some cookies? I love this video. And then that's pretty much the gist of it. You can set up custom macros and stuff if you want to have a remote control or something like that, but the Plex software literally is just like download it from the Plex website using Chromium and just install it. And it installs, and you can log in with the various accounts. I think they have support for Google and Facebook and that sort of thing, or you can just use your email. Free to do so, free to make an account. You don't have to. You could also install something like Kodi is another thing you can use. Recall box for retro gaming, you can do that. You can do RetroPie. Just one note is the reason why we're using the Raspberry Pi OS is because we are using CircuitPython libraries, the Blinka wrapper, to make this display work. So this is all done thanks to the Blinka wrapper and the CircuitPython libraries. Shout out to Melissa for really doing all that. So yeah, really easy way to display text and that sort of thing using the CircuitPython libraries. So questions, we'll go ahead and answer those questions. I got to do a little bit of research real quick. I forgot how to exit a Python program in Raspberry Pi. So I'm just going to Google that and exit the program. I forgot how. It's like, here it is. So I'm going to use the terminal and do an SSH. Plug into it. You can watch Pedro bake some cookies here. This is our favorite cookie recipe. So you can make some holiday cookies. All right, I'm gonna do the thing sudo ps ef grep and then Python. It tells me what the script ID is. And then I can do sudo kill and then the ID of the script, which is
Liz says it's Control-C.
Well, it's not running yet, so I have to. I'm doing a new terminal instance, so yeah, it would be Control-C if I had it running. But this is what's kind of cool is I have it. I have done an auto start script, so this just boots automatically. So there's no real way for me to kill it other than killing the PID through the terminal. So I'm about to kill it now. It's 1379. That kills that. It doesn't clear the screen because it just keeps it there. So I'm gonna now run the next Python script, which is our GIF player. This is a really fun one. Shout out to JP for modeling for this one. JP is famously the Doom guy, so that's JP. So you can play some GIF images. This is using the Pillow library. We have a Learn guide on this as a separate kind of guide that pertains to just doing any GIFs on the Raspberry Pi using a TFT. But our script is specifically written for this format and the screen and the GPIO pins. So I can use the two buttons to cycle through them. So here's some GIFs of the Circuit Playground Express, LED glasses driver, the Braincraft hat, Blink, and back to Doom. So one's just cycling through one way and the other one cycles through the other way. But you could program it to do whatever you want. This is just the scripts that we have included in the Learn Guide repo. That's cool. I'll just leave it there. And maybe play a trampoline video next. I think that's the majority of it. You can play MP4s. I haven't tried that out yet, but I remember Lamar saying you can try that out, and I just never did. Because there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. At the end of the day, I just installed Quake 3 and started playing Quake, and I forgot about streaming content. But hey, it can be used for all sorts of different things. But yeah, I wasn't aware that you can make a bootable drive with an SSD. And that's really cool. So that's the project. We can go over to the Learn Guide and check it out. There's my cheat sheet. I just went to the Raspberry Pi forums and typed in how do I exit a Python program. But if you head on over to learn.adafruit.com, you can see our guide is up there. And there's a lot of parts for this project. The Raspberry Pi 4, I think at 11:30 we'll have a stock. So we'll check in at 11:30 if we have any Pi stocks. But this is the Pi 4. If you have one, use them if you got them, type deal. The displays are in stock. This is 320 by 170. It's an IPS display, so you get really good viewing angles, as you saw in the demo. For the buttons, we have these these stemma wired tactile buttons that have little JST ports on them, so it's a little bit easier to connect them and disconnect them, so that makes it modular. We have the micro SD card PCB extender, which is good for a case like this. And we have a fan. There's a bunch of other parts like the buttons and GPIO header pins, and this right here, the Pimoroni Nano HAT hacker is a really great way to make a modular Raspberry Pi project. So you can solder I have to say solder. You can solder
You say GIFs too, apparently.
GIFs, GIFs. So when you can solder wires to these pins, and then you can pop out this whole PCB, so you don't have to wire it directly to the GPIO pins on your Raspberry Pi. So it really makes it awesome. I love this thing.
Sweet.
Definitely get one if you don't have it. We used it in the Boomy AirPlay boombox project a little bit ago, and it just makes it modular and gives you more pin outs, so it's really nice. And it's a thin PCB, and Pimoroni does great Pi products. So
Especially when we gotta keep reusing the Pi in different projects.
yeah, so it's a really good method, and we'll look at the wiring too on that. You still need an SD card, a micro SD card, because you have to burn a special utility using the Raspberry Pi OS Pi Imager software. You have to select USB boot, and then you can use that, and it'll allow USB storage to be used as a bootable drive. We'll walk through that as well. The SATA drive, I just link it to Amazon, but if you have one on hand, you can use that. It's a 2.5 inch. I think they're all standardized. Cables, some quick connects. Those work well for the arcade buttons, so you don't have to solder directly to the pins. We have some 2-pin Molex connectors as well that plug in directly into the fan, so you don't have to splice wires there if you don't want to. Some hardware and the heat inserts and heat insert tip because I really wanted the threads on the case to be really good, and if you don't want those threads to wear out, you're best off doing heat set inserts, and they're more strong, more reliable, and that's why I'm using them. But you could always modify the case design if you just want to drive directly into the case. But I'm using heat inserts, but that's kind of optional, I guess. All right, we got a circuit diagram that disappeared. There it is. It just shows you a visualization of how all the things are wired. There's a lot of wiring going on here, so that's why we've broken everything out. But you're free to kind of update this wiring as long as you kind of update the pins in the code or the script that you might be running. But this is a SPI display. It's using the SPI protocol, so you got about 8 wires. It's a nice chunk of wires that go on there, but you can change this up if you want to, but we have it set up this way because our code's already kind of set that way for these GPIO pins. But yeah, so that's the circuit diagram. CAD files, you can get STLs or the CAD source. If you want to modify it, definitely download the step file or the Fusion 360 file, and that includes all the external components and stuff that's used. There are some new 3D models that I had to put together, notably the 1.9-inch TFT display, so that one's been added to our GitHub repo, and we have a link to that, so that's really nice. If you want to use this display, it's got these 4 mounting tabs that make it really nice and easy to mount to 3D printed stuff or CNC'd stuff or whatever. Cardboard. Software setup. So you definitely want to choose your OS, and the only caveat is if you're using something other than the Raspberry Pi OS, well, we don't have CircuitPython support for it. It's just a lot to maintain, so we're kind of exclusively on the Pi OS. So if you want this display to run in CircuitPython, you're going to want to use the Pi OS. Ubuntu has a lot of great things and options, but it just doesn't have that CircuitPython support. We have a guide linked out, external guide from Tom's Hardware. So shout out for Tom Hardware for doing some great guides. And they already have a really good thorough tutorial on how to make a USB bootable Raspberry Pi with an SSD. So you can check that out. Just one caveat is when you're booting up, the Pi tends to look for devices. So if you have anything other than the SSD drive connected, like maybe this dongle for your keyboard mouse combo, it'll try to boot off of that and not this. So just make sure that when you're booting up that you don't have anything plugged into it, only the USB port for the SS drive. So that's one thing I learned that was kind of weird, but that's why I have a warning there. But the Raspberry Pi Imager is chock full of variants, so you can choose all that.
On that point,
yes.
Wester is pointing out that inside that there is an option for the OS to create a boot over the Ethernet. He hasn't tried it, but here is the instructions. He links to it on
Tom's Hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really cool way to do it too. Yeah, I haven't considered that one. So you have your options, right? But definitely you want to use the Raspberry Pi Imager. It just makes things so much easier. You can even kind of configure your Wi-Fi before having to do a headless Pi.
Yeah.
That is really awesome. They've done so much great work to the Imager.
It used to be so archaic.
Yeah, it's so much better now. That's why it made so much sense to make this guide, because it was like, okay, all this stuff is ready to go. Installing CircuitPython libraries on a Raspberry Pi is its own guide. Shout out to Melissa, for doing all this. She's really the force behind Blinka. So this will walk you through all the things you need to know about installing CircuitPython on your Raspberry Pi. And then we have some code. So these are the code snippets for doing these demos, like displaying the IP address and CPU temperature. Very similar to CircuitPython code, because it is CircuitPython code. So you can see here it's importing all of the standard libraries like display text, the bitmap font for doing custom fonts. I even have fonts here. Arial, nice fonts. So you can create your own fonts as well, or just use our fonts that we have included in the repo. You got some pinouts, and then there's some of this kind of special code for doing for grabbing the IP address. It's a sub-process check kind of thing going on there. And then drawing labels. You can change the colors, you can change the font, you can scale the fonts if you want. And then the position for them. So if you've done any CircuitPython display text programs before, It's pretty much similar here. And then the GIF player one, this is kind of a modification of Melissa's Learn Guide on playing GIF images using the Pillow library on the Raspberry Pi. So it uses the Pillow library. There was one kind of small update because the Pillow library got updated or something. So this accommodates for that. You really don't have to mess with this stuff other than like if you want to put your GIFs in a different folder or something like that, or maybe you're using a different display or you want to rotate it differently. You can do all that, and that's all commented here. But shout out to Melissa for kind of writing that one. I just kind of tweaked it a little bit. And then we go on to the auto start scripts. So if you want to auto start a Python script, you can follow along with these commands. You create a new service file. I called mine TFT Display.service. Then you want to kind of tell where the script is. If you have a different host name for your Raspberry Pi, you want to change it in that path. You want to use absolute paths. And if you've changed the name of your Python code file, you just make sure you update it here in this file. You exit that, and then you run some system CTL, system control daemon stuff to enable the service on boot, and that's pretty much it. And if you want to change it, you can just change the service file. And if you want to change the script, maybe you want to play the GIF player on auto start. And then we have a little bit of a mini guide on enabling safe shutdown. You basically just want to modify the config.txt file in the terminal or whatever text app. And you can change up the GPIO pin here if you'd like. By default, GPIO 13, when it is tied to ground, it'll boot the Pi up. So we're actually connecting to two different GPIO pins for this one button, the power button. GPIO 27 will shut down. Unfortunately, you can't use the same GPIO pin 3 to do two things. For whatever reason, I couldn't get it to work. So I just picked a different pin. Installing the Media Plex server, you just go to the website and it kind of makes a local host URL that's accessible using this port. And then you can access the interface there. There's a basic setup wizard that like walks you through installing your libraries and stuff like that, your video if you have any, and that sort of thing. And then here's the auto start Chromium in full screen kiosk mode. You kind of want to edit the auto start configuration file, add the thing, and reboot your Pi. And that's kind of it. That's how you can do the full screen in kiosk mode on Chromium. That's kind of it in a nutshell. So a lot of little different pieces that kind of come together to make your thing, but you're completely free to do it out of order or any other kind of thing. Just the main thing I want to say is like the TFT, if you want to have CircuitPython on it, you need the Raspberry Pi OS. So that's about all I got for that. Take a real quick look at the wiring. The Pico hat has really nice pinouts on it. That's really great when you're wiring.
They're actually labeled.
They're labeled,
oh
lovely,
God, what
and
a
they have
concept.
icons. They do it the best. They really do. So we're wiring up all the things for the arcade button. I'm using those, those quick connects, so I don't have to solder directly to them. And these buttons are really nice. They have labels on the side of them, so you can't confuse what's what. The fan, I'm using a different fan just because I want to go a different fan, but the one that's in the store is not a Noctua one. I just happen to have one, so that's what I used. There are 40 millimeters. Normally the fans are kind of sized accordingly. There's a 50, a 40, and a 30. This is the 40. Wiring everything up to the Pi hat is really nice and easy because you have labels. But yeah, I basically wired up the TFT display directly to the the Pimoroni Nano HAT. It used to be called the Pico hat, but now it's called the Nano HAT. Because Pico came out.
We need a alert sound. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Raspberry Pis are in stock.
You're kidding.
Whoop, whoop,
All right,
whoop.
this just in, everybody.
It's just the 8 gig.
The 8 gig is in
But
stock.
I think that's the one everyone wants. Should
Yeah.
I get one too?
Max one per customer, folks.
I am checking out.
You do have to have a registered account with Adafruit. And that
No,
makes
my
it...
card's empty. I gotta go order on my other computer. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Go ahead. You'll be back. But hey, lightning alert. Raspberry Pis are in stock, 8 gigabyte model. So check that one out. I'm going to go back to the Learn Guide. So with the TFT display wired up to the hat, I didn't really want to wire anything else to it because I really like the modularity of it. So for the buttons, the LED, and the power switch, I'm using corresponding connectors. So that's what I got wired into there. So everything really is modular. Onto the assembly, we start off with the hardware for the Raspberry Pi. Normally the mounting holes for a Raspberry Pi is set up for an M25 sized hardware. You could do M3 hardware if you wanted to use some thumb screws that happen to be M3, for example, but you do want to have to tap those mounting holes. There's enough room on those mounting holes to do that, but just a kind of a fair warning. I even have a little warning about it. Adding the heat inserts, using a soldering iron is the way to do it because you got to heat it up, and the holes are a little bit smaller than the brass insert themselves, so that the heat kind of expands the PLA and kind of melts into it, so it's a heat set kind of deal. And we have a learned guide on creating a heat set rig. If you want to do really precise and lots of heat inserts, you can use a soldering iron and some 3D printed parts and a piece of aluminum extrusion to make your own rig for doing heat inserts. We have a full guide on that with hardware and everything. Or you could just use your regular soldering iron, which is fine too. It's only a few of them. Installing the handle, definitely want to do that before fitting other parts in there with some M3 screws and hex nuts like it's attached. All the geometry on this case, on the frame, is like optimized for 3D printing without any supports, so that's good. You don't have to print it with supports. So that's nice. And then we have a standalone button plate for these buttons with those JST connectors on them. We're using standoffs to kind of elevate it, and then they line up perfectly with the holes in the case. The next part is installing the Pi. So the Pi gets some header or some standoffs, and that gets secured to the bottom of the frame. I'm using these really nice M3 thumb screws because they also double as feet. So that's why I use some M3 hardware. You want to install the SD card extender, and then start securing the metal power button, which is 60 millimeters in diameter and has the thread, and it comes with its own hex nut, so that gets it's like panel mounted to the side. And then the next thing is to secure the display. That gets secured. It's got mounting holes. It only goes in one way. And then at that point you can place the Pi hat over the GPIO pins on the Pi. And then start connecting everything. Fan gets mounted to one of the panels. It's symmetric, so it doesn't matter which side of the 3D printed panel. Just make sure that the fan is facing the right orientation for the air to come in, so air is blowing on the Pi, not sucking it out, unless you want to do that, I guess. But they get secured to those heat set inserts. They're M3 sized. The SSD mount gets its own set of kind of standoff, so it's elevated away from the panel mount. That way you have a lot of ventilation. It doesn't get hot, but if it did, it would have a lot of ventilation. So that gets secured. These drives have like two sets of mounting holes. So the way that the thing is that these tabs kind of these tabs here are in there's mounting holes on the side of it and on the bottom of it, so it's kind of weird. So I haven't really seen something like that before. So you can kind of mount it in a different way if you'd like, but that's how I have it mounted. And that's kind of it. That's the learning guide in a nutshell. And we have a warning here too. Shout out to Anne for putting this. If you plug the SSD into one of the USB 2 ports, the non-blue ones, the project may work, but you're not transferring data at USB 3 speeds. So use the blue port. Yes, that's a good note. I didn't even mention that. Good stuff. So that is a learn guide in a nutshell. Did you get your Raspberry Pi?
I did. I had a cart full of stuff
And it
that
emptied out.
It freaking. I took a screenshot because I knew this would happen.
Yeah. Well, they're still in stock.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they
Yay.
are. So that's great. One per customer.
I was gonna say sorry, I got mine, so I could keep doing projects for
funny.
work.
Right. Sorry, I couldn't do it. That's funny. So yeah, that's Plex. That's wiring in a nutshell.
This is super cool because I really like that you can use this project as, I think I was saying last week, as like, you know, in the office or whatever, like the front office. It could be connected to a TV or just running all of your company's ads. In our case, it would be like all the project videos just running back to back. Super cool for that. For museums, you have on display whatever the thing that they're showing. It can just be a continuous loop. Really cool for that. And of course, old school gaming like Quake. Check
One of my
this out.
favorite games growing up, Quake 3.
Yeah, that intro brings back some new memories.
And you can install Quake by just going to like the app thing. Well, I'm in this mode.
Oh, those sound effects.
Right, yeah.
Brings me back to that G4 iMac? Was it?
Oh, there's actually servers and stuff? That's crazy.
No, there's servers still going.
Yeah.
Remember those servers that were left for like years and they figured out that all you do is just sit there?
Right, that was a weird one. Yeah. I could go full screen and all that, but I just didn't want to.
Yay! So I posted the links in all of the chats. Derek has picked one up. It's so funny that he was saying that he wishes that they were in stock. So there you go. You tuned in at the perfect timing. This one's pretty freaking good, man. What?
Well, I mean, we were using one of my favorite. I just wish I had a mouse.
Was that the
The whatever gun?
Pulse something?
Something, yeah.
One hit.
Right.
One hit shot.
Anywho.
Derek says it's time to build a Plex server.
Yes.
How freaking cool, y'all.
Right. So I guess I'll demo the safe shutdown. It's so great to just go, okay, I want to go.
Oh man, I missed it in the snap.
That's it. Oh, sorry. I can power it back up once it goes, but you can see here it gives you a little text display saying, hey, I'm doing the shutdown service. Give it a second, and you get some green LED indication there. And then this guy right here will stop lighting up. It's wired to, the LED particularly is wired to the TX pin. So now the TX pin is like, I'm done. So the LED shut off, and it's safe to unplug it, right? Oh man, I was gonna leave it plugged in so that, because it'll just automatically boot. And again, you want to take out the dongle when you're booting. If you're using the SATA drive as a bootable drive, you'll want to take out any USB devices that might be plugged in. This is the 2 gigabyte version, so it's not the fastest, but it's good enough for Quake 3. It's great for video and streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a part of the kernel's like looking for a USB bootable device, so it takes a little bit extra, but it's pretty quick by today's standards. Remember when it would take like 2 minutes to boot up a Pi back in the old days?
Speaking of old days, in the chat,
That was. So everything is auto Plex,
Nice.
auto kiosk, auto loading, auto start the script. It's just ready to go. We can start watching some Street Fighter. Just make sure your dongle gets plugged in again. There is one thing. If you have too many power-hungry USB devices, your SSD will be like, yo, I need more power. So if you do have an external power source, maybe use that. But I haven't run into it because I'm using a keyboard-mouse combo. But I have a feeling that if I plug something else in, it might just start choking on it. But everything has limitations.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Pi projects, Lakota the Hero is wondering if you would consider making a new version of the Pip-Boy, that uses a 4.5-inch screen, uses the correct 2-amp power source.
Pip-Boy would work great with an M4 or
I posted the link that
or
the one that
Pico,
JP did.
RP2040. Yeah.
Lakota wants to use it as streaming video stuff,
okay,
like
so
a wearable computer.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could, yeah.
So, with today's adventure of looking at when to get a Pi, figuring out what dates we release Pis and timing it all, it's still kind of hard to get a Pi. So that's actually one of the reasons why we have not revisited that, just because of supply issues. We don't
Right.
want to make a project and be like, oh,
Can't get it.
you can't really get any of the parts. Buy all the other stuff though.
Yeah, we just happen to luck out on the
can't.
timing.
Yeah.
For this. Wednesdays at 11. It's
Mhm.
wild. That's when we do our show.
Yep, it will happen. It is on the in the to-do list as the supply eases.
Yeah, for
we'll
sure.
get
in the future.
we'll get back into more Pi projects.
Yeah.
That is one of them. The Pip-Boy will be updated soon. Maybe next year.
Maybe next.
Which,
year.
is in a couple months.
True.
Year's almost over. All right, cool. That's this week's awesome project.
Look at this
people
build.
like.
It's a crazy build. That's very cool, Yanni.
Yeah.
I like that.
Reminds
Is that
me
the
of-
official touchscreen?
I was gonna say it reminds me of
Yeah,
the
this is all in
7-inch.
one. Oh, and it has like an RFID reader. All sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, you can go crazy
Nice
with your
little
builds.
kiosk.
Yeah, especially with the display integrated in like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess ours is the differentiator is like, this is supposed to be maybe like behind a bigger display. We're just using the small display because
Just to show off what it's
it
doing.
fits on the desk. But maybe we could have a big one here, but we don't want to cover all this stuff up.
Yeah.
But yeah, very
Cool.
very modular. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into this week's. Or actually, that was this week's super
this
cool
is next
project.
Cool. I hope folks got their Raspberry Pis. We're just gonna set this in the background.
I got mine.
Just let it autoplay. Put this away.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into this week's What Are We Prototyping?
Yeah.
Back with more Whippersnapper projects. I wanted to make a solar powered one, and on the day that we released last week's project, Brent had updated Whippersnapper components. Brent added a battery gauge, so I can see what the
Whoa,
battery levels
so cool.
are on a battery powered project. So you can see, there's not enough sun. Like today, it's been freaking cloudy.
Yeah.
So this isn't really charging as good. So one of those things, or the battery level is definitely something that you nice to have if your project's about to die. You can monitor all this, and
Cutie Pie ESP32S2, right?
yeah, we have.
There's the battery monitor.
Yep, we got a BFF on the bottom.
This
there,
is
so
great.
it's
This has a built-in barrel jack, so it plugs directly into the charger.
Mhm.
You can have your beefy battery here. Looks like it's 6600 milliamp. And then you have your sensor here. That's the air quality, CO2, temperature, humidity.
Mhm.
And then this is the battery gauge.
Yeah.
So you're monitoring the battery and you're monitoring the air quality all over Wi-Fi with the CircuitPython. Well, it's Whippersnapper.
Yeah, it's
So
Whippersnapper.
with the Whippersnapper's firmware, and then I guess flip it on the back here. Really high quality, weather resistant solar panel.
And it all fits behind it. It's all nice and compact.
We stock this, right? It's an Adafruit product.
It's out of stock.
I think it's out of stock, but hopefully we'll get more in stock.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the dashboard for
Yeah, give me a
this because it
second.
looks so freaking awesome. Go into the one that is labeled solar.
All right, so dashboards. Oh, you just want to go to the hardware?
Oh yeah, no, go to the dashboard.
All
Yeah,
right, so we're using the
yeah.
Adafruit I/O.
Solar climate. I like how you can differentiate with the emojis there. And bam!
Whoa.
Look at this.
It's a lot of
You
stuff.
got your battery level, your gauge, your voltage. You can see like when
Where's your battery?
it's
94.
you can see right here like when it's waking up to take some measurements and send it over.
Here's the cell voltage and battery percent. What's the difference
Mhm.
here? Oh, just the
It's
voltage.
The voltage, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
then
when you turn it on?
CO2, that's when I switched batteries because it's
Oh.
freaking cloudy. This
Right.
whole like past 2 weeks, 3 weeks have been super cloudy.
Yeah.
And then you can see your humidity, your temperature, your CO2. You can see as it rises up. This is freaking awesome.
That's great.
You can monitor everything like that.
So if you had something like a mailbox notification thing, you can have
Oh,
this there. You
yeah.
don't have to worry about charging the battery because it's charging whenever there's sun.
The other cool thing that we're doing too is reactive action. So when it gets too hot, it'll send you an email and be like, hey, it's 30C. Or when the CO2 levels are too high, it'll email you on that as well.
There's a lot of sun right now.
One of the other things that who was working on the mail bra? Was it Eva?
Katney's working on a
Cool thing you can do with
mail
that, you can have like the
notification.
beam breaker. So like when the mailbox opens up, you can mount this to your mailbox. When it opens up, it'll send you a message that hey, beam's been broken. Or you can even do it with the what's the other one? The magnets. So when like the magnet separates from the opening, the mailbox door when it like
Yeah.
opens, you can do that. go into there. Give me more ideas on what to
Oh,
talk about. Yeah, the light sensor. You can use a light lens sensor.
buzzer,
So
you can make a noise
when it gets too hot or something, have some LEDs flashing. Maybe the PIR.
Sensor. You can make a planter type thing with a water sensor.
That's what I'm testing right now. Actually, on one of the other ones. I have like 5 of these set up all around the house now. This is so freaking fun.
All the stemma stuff here. So you're using the LC709. That's the battery gauge.
He released that like the day or last week, the day of the project launch. So I was like, oh man, I really wanted to get that in the video, but I get my chance right here.
Cool.
Doing it into a solar project.
Yeah, that's great. And then this SCD is the air quality sensor.
64. Yep.
Cool. And we have a bunch of other ones, so check those out. But yeah, those are all what's supported right now. So you can play with this today. It's free to do so. With up to 2 devices and 10 feeds. Yeah. Any other dashboards or stuff you want to call out?
I think this is the most.
The trigger isn't really visualizing, so just talking about the trigger is one thing.
I mean, you get the idea. When it gets too hot, when it gets too humid, when the light opens,
the value,
it'll email you, or I want to hook up a buzzer, so it'll beep at you,
right?
Or an LED, so it'll flash. So lots of cool reactionary actions that you can do based on any of those environmental variables.
So you've designed this bracket. It's 3D printed, and it's designed to fit the mounting holes of this particular large 6-volt 3.4 amp solar panel. Nice that you have the PID 500.
Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
we do have one that's like half the size, but I won't be able to fit everything in there. I think this is the most compact.
Yeah, this is cool that
we can have in there.
The solar panel itself becomes the mounting mechanism. So these are cool. What are these, rubber feet?
No, so these little thumb screws come with all of the panels.
Great.
So you can see here these screw in. It's sort of like countersunk, so this will hold it in nice and secure. And the last thing I want to do is add some more framing on here so you can attach it to a standardized pole, maybe like the antenna satellite poles that are quite common.
Yeah.
I'd probably make another one too with like a tripod head so you can have this indoors.
That'd be great.
So one indoors, one outdoors, and just monitor, especially with all the plant stuff. I want to make sure that I'm not burning them, or like you were saying before with the water sensor, since they don't like to be watered every day, every week. I need to water them like every 2 weeks. And they're all like different, and I would got to make sure that the soil is not too dry. So this will definitely help in terms of making sure that all of the environment that the plants want, they're all ready.
Cool.
Good.
I'm looking at the product page. We have a small one, but
I did get the small one, but it's like half the size, and I can't really fit everything in there.
Let's see if DigiKey has it in stock. There's always a DigiKey button. It's the big red one, so check that out. They might have it. Let's click on it. And
yay!
There's a lead time. Yeah, so even there, it's out of stock. Sorry.
Dang, I can't do it on the small
one. Looks like they're
one.
different. Is that what the back looks like for yours? Not really, huh?
That might have been like a reflection of.
No, it's different.
Oh, I mean,
the pliers change.
Yeah.
I hope the mounting holes are the same. But you had some leeway there. So
yes, I do. Yeah, so that was a good thing.
Yeah.
It was to accommodate the countersunk.
This is an old product. I mean, PID 500.
That's what I was going to say.
Old product. There's a text drawing.
One. I guess I can try to fit it in the smaller one.
The GitHub is down. Voltaic Engineer used to be on.
Whoops. Go to the small one. That one is in stock. But it's like tiny. Like I could fit this half of the electronics. Tiny. I'd have to like stack the battery.
Yeah.
It's like just becoming this big ol'. And then is that enough to power or to charge anything?
I don't know what the charging rates and stuff are.
I mean, we can look at the graph and see what the voltage is
using. Powers, 3.6 volts. I don't know what else to look at. But anyway, we have a couple different ones, so.
And we're using the updated charging circuit.
This guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's got USB-C.
Yeah.
Look at that. Fancy. This is in stock, so if you already have a thing, it'll work.
Yeah. The other thing you're going to need is that adapter as well. A little barrel jack.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
This guy here.
I didn't even notice that was a thing. I thought it was built in. This is an adapter.
So
it doesn't fit.
Comes with a little tiny. I won't disconnect it.
I like
actually, no, you
angles.
should be good. Yeah, and it's weatherproof too, so it
it's
has a nice
tiny.
little
Yeah.
what's it called?
It's a little
Uh,
snout.
yeah.
Snoot.
So this is probably going to be dual printed. So I'm going to start it off with the Ninja Flex on the bottom here, so it has a seal. So I'm going to have to make it somewhat weather resistant. So there will be gaskets that are in
Yeah.
between some of the parts.
Nice.
But this will be fun.
Oh crap! We have 8 minutes.
Oh crap! Okay.
All right.
So that's what we're prototyping.
Yeah.
All right, jumping into this week's community makes.
have
Or no,
this.
you got one?
I have a planter this week. It's printed in ProtoPasta's wood filament, and it's got this nice Kumiko inspired pattern. So that's about it. It was printed in vase mode, so it's really thin. Very, very thin, very floppy. Here, flop
And
that. See, very-
flexible.
Isn't that crazy? Like
It
how,
feels so good.
yeah, it feels really great. So in the overhead, you can see that this is a great filament. Go to ProtoPasta. Any other wood filaments are great. It's got some nice texture.
I need a whatever 9-inch
yeah.
diameter is, and
And if you get yourself an
millimeters.
IKEA Vijka,
oh, that's the name of them, man.
Is it Vijka? Maybe Yanni can help us with the pronunciation. But it's from IKEA, and it fits this. Kind of looks like a pineapple. Maybe I'll release it. I don't know. It's a nice kind of thing. So that's what I'm prototyping. It's kind of shop talk, right? Because
There's some other stuff, but
yeah.
can we show the robot?
No. Come back. Come back.
All right,
to
yeah,
it.
I've requested 9-inch.
Yeah.
Hot.
All right. Community makes. Right.
Yep.
This week is another skull.
Like I said before, next 2 months is going to be skulls. This week's skull is a dice tower.
Skull season.
And I'm not going to be able to actually do it. No, actually, no, yeah, next week's is another skull. So this is a dice roller. Wow, skulls are pretty multifaceted.
Multifaceted skulls.
Somebody uses for skulls. This is a really good use right here as a dice
It
roller.
rolls very good.
There's holes
So
in the eye sockets that come out of the bottom of it, so you can get some dice rolling in there.
All right, let's do a live demo with some dice rolling.
So, movable jaw, which is used to actually catch all the dice. So as it goes through the eye sockets out of the bottom here, the bottom jaw catches all the dice.
Yeah.
So got a couple of these.
3D printed dice.
Yeah, I really like the triangle one.
Look good.
Yeah, so these in there like that. Boom.
Ooh.
No, get in.
Get in there. This is
And
cool.
probably some.
So
no,
this
is that
is the
what
two
the-
pieces that get printed and they snap together. There's a bit of a ball joint there.
Yeah, you can
Very
check
nice.
this out. They did a really good
Oh,
job
cool. Very
on
nice.
that.
Peg. Any supports? I didn't notice the
No
supports.
supports. You can see on the bottom here, it prints completely vertical.
All right.
I thought I would need supports on this.
No, it catches itself pretty
Yeah, and this is printed at 0.25
well. Oh, cool.
layer height.
Yeah.
So it's
Little chunky.
you can kind of see here the resolution on it is
And-
kind of low.
The filament is from ProtoPasta.
Yeah, this is green. You got
Something
it.
green. I don't remember which green, but it's a great green. HT PLA, so high temperature PLA.
Nice little detail on the skulls here. I don't know if this was like scanned and then modified, but good job on that.
Perhaps, and this is from Aaron Gord. It's on Thingiverse.
Proper name for the season, Gord.
Aaron Gord. Shout out to Aaron Gord for their design. They printed it in this really nice kind of marble-looking filament. There's the pieces. They print 2 separate pieces with no supports.
Yeah, Derek saying as a kid would love this. Yes. Mine cannot wait for us to finish the show so they can take this and do some chattering with that other skull from last week.
Yeah, this are very, very cool to design. Sorry. So shout out to Aaron. Drog 33. Oh, that's fun. Very, very
I
fun.
think that's what the dungeon master would do, huh? Like 2 shakes, right? That's so cool. Sit in there. Hopefully it doesn't come out. And do another shake. Bam. There's your roll.
Sorry, ear headphone users.
Oh, sorry. But super cool. Dice Tower.
Yeah. So check it out. It's a free download on Thingiverse. Looks really cool.
What I like is this doubles as not only a dice tower, but Halloween decoration.
For
So,
sure.
Multi-uses.
Wow. Very
All
cool.
right. And I think that is this week's Community Makes.
That's this week's time lapse. We have a couple of community make postings that folks sent us this way, so let's go through those. Thanks to everybody, of course, for posting your makes. Let's take a look at the first one here. Posted up on Thingiverse by Thingiverse user J. Marinhan posted this up, and they did a remix of the Perma Proto case. So this is an Adafruit half-size Perma Proto, one of the freebies, by the way. And they modified it so that it's shorter, thinner. Still has the mounting tabs, but it has like a different board and some ports here on the top there for
Nice.
an OLED and maybe some sort of battery monitor or sensor of some sort. They said this is a thinner outer case for the Perma Proto feather case designed by Adafruit. The original case is designed to have a feather installed on female headers, which makes the overall case much thicker than I wanted. So they made it smaller, and they have a small OLED, and it works really well. And they made it on Tinkercad. Very cool. So you can always take our designs and remix them, even in Tinkercad. So it's got the snap fit bits on there. So very, very cool for a half-size Perma Proto. Very nice.
There was a shot of it with the lid closed and the screen like clearly in the shot.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Well, it's fine. I appreciate them posting it up. And you could also get the original one. It says where it's been remixed from, so that's always cool.
Yeah. Did you update the design for it to fit on the USB-C for the CD41 that you have?
No,
The
this is a
Whippersnapper
Perma
one?
Proto case. The one you're thinking is a Cutie Pie case.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is different. But yeah, cool. All right, next up we have another one. This is a geodesic lampshade posted up on Printables. Rosin posted this up. It says required a bit of cleanup, but it looks quite nice nonetheless. And this is a lampshade that's a geodesic kind of design, and it's designed to fit your standard kind of ER7 socket or something. There's a second piece of a diffuser, but you could just print the frame if you want. But this is the original photos that I took of it. Really, really nice. 2 pieces. You could also do extrude it if you'd like. And that was posted by Rosenberg. Very cool. Fun lighting fixture. And the last one we have is also on Printables. It's the Raspberry Pi Zero stand. And this was posted up as a make by Neurotic Panda. Neurotic Panda posted this up. This is perfect for zeros with hats, and they are sporting a Pimoroni Enviro hat.
Hey.
Looks really cool, and there's a bit of an opening for your cables so that it's nicely fitted, and looks great. So
awesome.
If you're looking for your Pi Zero stand, you can print ours out without any supports. And yeah, put your hats on there too. And that is this week's Community Makes.
Yay.
We made it. We have 1 minute to spare. We'll jump back into Discord, say hello, and we're ready to shut the show down. So let's talk about what is happening later tonight. We have 2 shows. Show and Tell. We invite you to come on Show and Tell. This week it's hosted by JP, the Doom Guy. Sorry, JP. He loves it though. So tune in 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or 5:30 p.m. JP time. And then Ask Engineer is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time every Wednesday. Coupon code is on tonight as well, 10% off, so you can get 10% off your code. And if you want to join, just hang out in the Discord chat room about 5 minutes before the show, and we'll drop the link in there for you to join. We hope to see your stuff there. Last week we hosted it. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for everybody for coming on and sharing their stuff. It's a lot of fun. Tomorrow is Tomorrow's JP's workshop featuring products and a product pick recap and some other fun stuff. Every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. On Fridays, we have a deep dive with Tim, Foamy Guy. Every Friday at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Eastern. So that is the Fridays. On Sundays, we have From the Desk of Lady Ada. She's back with a bunch of new stuff. It was Stemma Sunday this week. And then wrapping back around to Mondays is the CircuitPython Hangout at 2 p.m. Eastern. Tuesdays is a big deal. Tuesdays is an opportunity for you to get up to 50% off select products from JP only during the live stream, and that's Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. JP time. All right, and then we're here again.
I think the only thing we can promote now is that Raspberry Pis are released during our show.
Yeah,
Yay!
well,
I got Derek over here saying, "Yay! I can
They're
do my
all out of
project."
stock.
That was fast.
That was quick, folks.
I didn't even think mine
But you
would
got
go
your
through.
pie, and we're confident that folks are going to sell these on eBay for hundreds of dollars. You're actually going to use this,
Do
right?
that. Come on.
We hope you do use it in a project, maybe a media server.
Because even
With a
the
skull.
even the person who's gonna buy that for that much isn't even gonna use it anyway.
Aw.
So it's gonna sit on a shelf. And look at us, we had to like completely tear apart like our Raspberry Pi camera.
I did.
I had to tear apart our auto player, the little tiny
Yeah.
what was
I
it, the
remember.
Buddha radio.
Yeah. That's why it's always important to have
So
modularity from the beginning into
Mhm.
integrated into your design. How do I make it so I could pop out the pie? So you could always swap this pie out. Not too hard. Just take these screws off, pop out the thing, and nothing is tied to the pie.
Uh-huh.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
really
actually why
good.
I always cringe when I need to solder headers to anything. It's
Yeah.
like, oh
You always want to have some sort of adapter that can pop off your headers. So
And Liz says people who just bought the Pi Alert project should actually use it to make an alert.
for the pie, a meta pie.
Uh-huh.
Very fun.
Just use it. Don't hoard it or sell it.
Yeah, use it. All right, well, we hope to see your Raspberry Pi tonight on Show and Tell. Cool. We're past the hour, but we appreciate everybody for hanging out during the live show.
And with that, don't forget to make a great
We'll see you
day.
tonight. Yeah, we'll see everybody on Show and Tell. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, folks.